So let me ask you something. If you could build as much wealth as you wanted, and when you took it out in retirement, you never had to file an income tax return, and you never had to worry about the government restricting you by age when you could take a distribution or telling you at what age you had to take a distribution, would you want that? Would you want to get back in control of your money? If this circle was your net worth, how much of it would you never want to have to pay an income tax on? So let me ask you something. If you could build as much wealth as you wanted, and when you took it out in retirement, you never had to file an income tax return, and you never had to worry about the government restricting you by age when you could take a distribution or telling you at what age you had to take a distribution, would you want that? Would you want to get back in control of your money? If this circle was your net worth, how much of it would you never want to have to pay an income tax on? And you know, it's kind of funny because when I'm talking with people one-on-one and they start to understand and they get it and they realize we're not doing anything illegal, we're simply taking advantage of the laws in the tax code, and that financially savvy and smart people do this, you know what they tell me? All of it. All of it. I want 100% of my net worth in that circle, Ron. I want to do it all. And I say, sorry, you can't. But I do appreciate the sentiment. Look, you need a place to live. You need a car to drive. You need clothes to wear. You need to have furniture to sit on. But everything else, what if you had saved $1 million and it were all in that circle? And when you started taking distributions, you didn't have to file an income tax return, regardless of the age you are when you took that first distribution, and regardless of the amount it is when you take that first distribution. Would you want to take back control of your money? Okay, let's illustrate this point even further because we're going to have some fun. We're going to do a little survey here. So it's survey time. And I simply want to ask you, out of these two retirees, who would you rather be? Retiree number one, who has $1 million in their retirement portfolio, or would you rather be retiree number two, who has $600,000 in their retirement vehicle? Retiree number one with 1 million or retiree number two with 600,000. And you're probably looking at this saying, and I hope that you're picking retiree number one, because if you didn't, I would say that you've been smoking crack. But because of the way I'm asking the question, you're probably beginning to realize that this is some kind of trick question, that there's more to the story. And you would be right. Because look, when I do my analysis with my clients, what I tend to find is that most of them have two big assets. They have their house, and then they have a big qualified retirement plan. Okay. So this is what retiree number one would look like. So he's got $1 million, but he's got that money in a pre-tax 401k or IRA in a managed portfolio of stocks and bonds. Okay. When he does this, when he takes distributions, remember, we just talked about that 4% safe withdrawal rule. That means he's drawing out $40,000 of income, and that income is fully taxable. Now, retiree number two, he has his cash stored in a different vehicle. He has a lower net worth, right? He only has 600,000, but the vehicle that he has his money saved in has no stock market risk. So he's able to take a much higher distribution rate or take out a much higher percentage of what he has. So at a 7% distribution rate, and again, that's because there's no stock market risk on this vehicle, he's able to take out a 7% distribution, which is $42,000. And he's got his money in a vehicle where the distributions are tax exempt. So let me ask you something. What would you rather have? $40,000 that's fully taxable, or $42,000 where it's tax exempt? I want to point out what your brain is doing right now. Now your brain's kind of at war because you're using logic and newly acquired information to overcome some of those first impressions, because you're thinking that $1 million is much, much more, but it gives me less income. It gives me less of what I really want. So that's so important that you open your mind when you're trying to deprogram your brain from this old school thinking, what we've been brainwashed with, what we've heard over and over, that it's net worth that matters when it really isn't. What really matters is the net after tax spendable income. Now, look, there's more to this calculation. So let's see how this thing plays out. So retiree number one, he's got to pay income tax on that $40,000, right? Because it's fully taxable. Here's the thing. Because of our country's fiscal mess, the 30 trillion in debt, Medicare's broke, Social Security's on the brink of insolvency. I think I would bet the farm that income tax rates are going to be much, much higher in the future, especially if you're a millionaire. But let's say that they're not. Let's say that when you take this distribution, you're actually in the lowest income tax bracket of 10%. But we got to pay state income tax, okay? Now, these vary widely, right? Like California and New York, they're huge. Like they're way up in the teens. So I'm not going to go that high. I'm just going to use 5%. So let's just make the overall tax rate 15%. So all of a sudden, that $40,000 turns into $34,000 net. That's less than $3,000 a month. But there is a hidden cost here because at that level of distribution, a $40,000 distribution is going to go into the provisional income calculation, and it's going to make 85% of your Social Security taxable, which means that your entitled benefit that you've paid into your entire working career, tens of thousands, or depending on how long you live, maybe over $100,000 of your benefit is going to go back to the federal government, to the IRS in the form of income tax, because you followed traditional methods of planning and you put all your money in a pre-tax IRA. And when you get up there to those upper levels, there's also a possible Medicare premium offset where it increases your Medicare premium as well. Now, let's go back to retiree number two. Again, he has his money stored in a vehicle where, yes, he's accumulated less money. His net worth is less, but he's got it in a vehicle where he's got guaranteed growth, where there's no stock market risk. So he's actually able to take a higher distribution percentage. So 42,000, and that money's tax exempt. So that means as he takes that distribution, there is no federal income tax due. There is no state income tax due. He gets $42,000 net. And this money is tax exempt. So it does not impact his Social Security. So he's not going to lose any Social Security benefits to taxes, and there's no Medicare premium offset. And this money is not just tax-free, it is tax exempt. That means there is nowhere to file taxes on an income tax return legally using the tax code because you're not showing any income. And guess what else? He could actually qualify for welfare. And I mean it literally. Food stamps, Obamacare, the government cell phone, all the government cheese, because this is cash flow. He shows no income. So although he's receiving more net spendable money than a 401k millionaire, on paper, he's dirt poor, he's broke, he could go out and qualify for welfare if he wanted. So you guys, listen, here's my point. If I know going into this, let's say that these are two twins, okay? They have the exact same job, the exact same earning power. Retiree number one was actually able to invest a little bit more because they were taking the tax deduction every year as they went along. And look, they obviously got a much better rate of return. They retired with $1 million instead of $600,000. But you guys, listen, let me teach you about the truth on how wealth really works. True wealth is not about chasing rates of return. At the end of the day, it's about how much money do I have in my hand to spend? And that comes down to a couple things I've been teaching you. Number one, it's the efficiency of that distribution, the safe withdrawal rate, 7% distribution versus 4% distribution. Number two, how is that distribution treated by the tax code? Fully taxable versus tax exempt. And then number three, how are these distributions going to affect your other government retirement benefits, making Social Security taxable and your Medicare premium increase versus having Social Security tax-free and no impact on Medicare? And so for retiree number two, he could do all of this in this vehicle and have no stock market risk. He's not paying any hedge fund manager any exorbitant fees to manage the money and hope that they do well. And then here's another neat thing. As far as the threat of rising taxes go, I mean, I don't care who gets into the Oval Office. Because even if they raise taxes way higher in the future, my cash flow is completely tax exempt. And then I'd also argue for retiree number one, if he had $1 million in 2008, by March of 2009, he'd be down to 500,000. He'd be trying to sue me. So you guys, this is the paradigm shift. We've covered a lot, really in depth. I've hit you with a lot of information, hard and fast. But if you can take away one thing from this video, It's this simple fact. Where your money is parked is much more important than the rate of return that you earn. Again, where your money is parked is much more important than the rate of return that you earn on that money. All right, so what is this? What kind of strategy or program is available to do all these things? It's not a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. That's dependent on the performance of the stock market. And if you've got all your money there and the market crashes, so does your retirement. The Roth IRA also has contribution limits. And here's another thing. The Roth is tracked and reported to the IRS. And you don't exactly trust the government nowadays, do you? If it's always going to be tax-free, why is it reported? All right, let's get down to this. What kind of vehicle are we able to use? A vehicle that the wealthy people use to store their cash and use it as a tax shelter. Well, listen, I'll tell you this. If you're the kind of person who has always been told and believes that when it comes to your life insurance, you should always buy term and invest the difference, you're just going to hate this because that's exactly what we're doing. And it goes against conventional wisdom. It is a specially designed high cash value life insurance policy. A life insurance policy that's not designed to buy the most death benefit, but it is structured to accumulate cash and to generate retirement cash flow. I call it life insurance on steroids. Now, look, it's kind of funny because when I'm talking with somebody who is up to that point, follow Dave Ramsey, the conventional wisdom, buy term, invest the difference, I say, listen, here's where I'm at. You want what this does. You love the benefits, but you don't like its name. Okay, we're done. And they're like, what? And I say, listen, you like what this does, but you don't like what it's called. I have to close the appointment now. Let's not waste any more of each other's time. And they're like, well, no. I do want to hear more. Listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it is. It matters what it does. But again, why life insurance? Look, I understand that insurance has a negative connotation. That's like a dirty word, right? So if I could use anything else, I would. Stocks, bonds, crypto, metals, coins. Hell, I'd use Coca-Cola cans for currency if I could. Life insurance is the last thing that I would use. But why do the wealthy use it? Because the tax code has anointed it as the second coming of the Savior. Let's take a look. Remember this circle of wealth? The IRS Internal Revenue Code, it's 109 years old. In that Internal Revenue Code, there are 5 strategies that the IRS allows you to employ where you aren't required to report a distribution. Those 5 vehicles are margin accounts, private mortgages, commercial mortgages, reverse mortgages, and life insurance. There are 6 times that the phrase tax exempt is used in the Internal Revenue Code where the distributions have no place to be put on a tax return. All 6 of those references are about life insurance. And that is why best-selling author and CPA Ed Slott, that's why he says on his PBS special that life insurance is the single greatest advantage in the entire U.S. tax code. Now, look, I know I may be challenging some long-held beliefs here, and I get it. For the longest time, I always believed that cash value life insurance was not a good asset. But then as I gained industry experience, I talked to seasoned advisors, I saw what they were doing with their wealthier and more financially savvy clients. They were all utilizing life insurance in the financial plan. So here's the truth, and I'm going to share it with you. I guess I'll even pose it as a question. If life insurance is such a terrible asset, why do so many large corporations fund their executive bonus plans with what's called corporate-owned life insurance, or COLI, C-O-L-I, corporate-owned life insurance? And do you realize that the big banks are some of the largest purchasers of cash value life insurance? The banks own billions of dollars of cash value and hold it on their balance sheets as a tier 1 asset where it's liquid and unassailable. For example, on your screen right now, you see the balance sheet of Citibank. They own over $5 billion of cash value insurance. Now, as you see here, this document's a couple years old. It's from 2019. And just to let you know, by the way, I don't have any inside connections over at Citibank. I'm not a banking insider. These balance sheets are a matter of public record. Anybody can go out and find them. You see JP Morgan Chase, over $11 billion of cash value life insurance. Wells Fargo, nearly $19 billion. Bank of America, over $22 billion. For Bank of America, the value that they hold in life insurance, that cash value, is worth more than all of their buildings and branches combined. So we have corporate-owned life insurance. We have bank-owned life insurance. You know something else? Almost 25% of cash value life insurance assets are owned by the top wealthiest 1% in America. So what is it do these wealthy people and institutions know that the average guy doesn't? Why is it that the banks tell you put your money in checking accounts, savings accounts, our money markets, our CDs? Meanwhile, they're doing something else with their money. They're putting it into cash value life insurance. I learned a long time ago, don't listen to what these wealthy people and wealthy institutions say. Watch what they do. That's the true tell. All right, kind of moving on here, you guys. What the wealthy people have learned is this. When they make a contribution into a life insurance contract, no matter how much it is, $100,000, I've got a few clients who do even more on an annual basis, okay? They know that when that money goes in, they can grow that money safely and predictably. And when they take distributions, those distributions are completely tax exempt because they're utilizing the laws of the tax code. And as an additional benefit, the family's protected during their working years as well. And life insurance, of course, also functions as a wonderful wealth transfer tool at the end of life. Now, I get it. Many of you watching this are not able to contribute $100,000 a year like the wealthier clientele. But I've never understood why the middle class keeps following the same outdated methods that they already know aren't going to work. They never worked in the first place. Like maybe if we just keep doing it, maybe we'll become financially free one day. But doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, isn't that the definition of insanity? Instead, can't we model the habits of the wealthy and apply their strategies to wherever we're at in our lives right now? Maybe you're not contributing $100,000 a year. Maybe you're contributing $5,000 or $10,000, and then over time you work your way up to $20,000. If you did that, you would be setting yourself up for a wonderful retirement, one where you could retire in the 0% tax bracket and not worry about any stock market volatility or stock market risk, nor worry about paying fees to a Wall Street broker. And so if we revisit our example from earlier, we recall that true wealth, it's not about chasing rates of return. It's about net after-tax cash flow, right? And that's about the distribution mechanisms, the safety of the asset. It's about how those distributions are treated by the tax code and how the distributions are going to affect your government benefits like Social Security and Medicare. It's not about looking at your 401k and pounding your chest and bragging to everybody because you got $1 million. Because remember, under current tax law, about 40% of that money is not even yours. It belongs to the IRS anyway. It is about net after-tax spendable money, money that's in your hand or in your wallet that you can use, that you can spend to live the lifestyle that you want to live. And you guys, listen, all the examples I'm giving you today, they're in terms of today's tax rates, which are historically low. But we've already agreed they have to go way higher due to our country's fiscal mess, like all the underfunded pension programs, the entitlement programs, Social Security and Medicare, things like that. Can you imagine how much more beneficial the life insurance strategy will be if we revert back to some of those higher tax rates from previous years? Heck, the year I was born, 1980. As you can see on your screen, the top 3 tax brackets, 50%, 60%, 70%. So if something like that happens, you're going to be that much further ahead by retiring in the 0% tax bracket using life insurance. All right, guys, we're kind of coming up here on the end of this presentation. So I just need to put some disclaimers up here. I just want to say I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. You know, we're coming full circle and we've explored many, many important questions today. And here's the deal. This may be the first time in your life that you've ever had to answer questions like this, and you answered them correctly. Look, my successful clients, the ones who are success-minded, every year they want to make more money than they did the previous year. Going into retirement, they want to remain successful and maintain that standard of living. They know that tax rates are probably going to go up, and they know that they want to have a certain amount of money where it's not tied to stock market risk or real estate risk or business risk, and they want to make sure that in retirement, they keep their taxes as low as possible. And so understand that if you're like them, today represents the lowest tax bracket you'll ever be in for the rest of your life. And I see how broke our governments are from the federal level all the way down to the local level. And the government cannot pay for all of this crap without somebody paying for it, if you know what I mean. And if you're okay with paying those higher taxes, that's fine by me. But here's what I would ask you. Look, is it okay that you did all of the right things in your life, that you had financial discipline, you had delayed gratification, you saved and you invested, and other people wouldn't? Not that they couldn't, but that they wouldn't. So instead of going on 3 nice vacations every year, you only went on 1 or 2. Instead of getting a brand new car every 2 years, maybe you only got a brand new car every 5 or 6 years. Is that fair? You're expected to foot the bill for these knuckleheads who wouldn't take care of themselves? But look, aren't they doing that though? Isn't the government stoking class warfare? You retire with $1 million of fully taxable income inside that 401k, you're going to be public enemy number 1. They're going to be looking at how can they get that money and redistribute it to people who weren't as fortunate as you, when the truth of the matter is they just wouldn't put in the work and they wouldn't exercise the same discipline that you did. Okay, you guys, we're just going to kind of come up here and on the end. And I just got to ask you this question, right? If you don't believe that's fair, and if you want to take back control of your money, well, what if we could ditch the 401k? What if we could give you back control without spending any additional money? What if we could take the money that you already had and simply repositioned it by moving it from your left pocket over to your right pocket? Would that be valuable information to know? If so, I'm going to include my scheduling app, the link to my scheduling app below. You're able to schedule a complimentary consultation on my calendar where the 2 of us can visit. It's going to send you a calendar event invite with a Zoom link. We're going to visit virtually. I'm going to get a chance to know about you, your situation, what you're currently doing, and what your goals are for the future, and see how we're able to restructure your life to live on cash flow instead of income. So at the end of the day, you can keep more of what you've worked so hard to earn. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I can't wait to show you how this strategy can powerfully show up in your financial life to help you take back control of your money from the IRS, to build your wealth outside the volatility and the games and manipulations of Wall Street, and help you retire in the 0% income tax bracket. I look forward to speaking with you, and thanks again.